think I'm nutty? She says, no, I do not think you're nutty at all. Maybe these other ladies think so, but I know you have good heart. And I don't care about nutty.
Well, there you go. There you go.
So that's good.
Haven't been here since 1990.
I haven't been there either. A long time. I guess I'll follow you.
Here we are. Hey.
Ah. Oh my God, my first.
I found him. Can I keep him?
Oh no. Him we're gonna have to check an ID on.
Hello, Jan.
Well.
How you doing, dear?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay.
Wow. So we still, Peter's on his way, and we were supposed to have a sandwich board outside with a thing, and it hasn't come yet, so that's not up. But basically the rest of it.
I spoke to Lizzie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's going to try to come. I think she's going to try to come on the 28th.
Okay, good.
She's, you know, her sick. I've been sick too, but she's always,
Yeah.
like she has an oxygen machine. I haven't got that. I'm on experimental drugs for asthma right now. I've been very, my asthma's been bad this summer. When I go to Thailand, if I get there well, I stay well. I stay near the ocean. But New York,
Yeah, it's a mess here. Oh, I should turn these lights on.
oh, it's beautiful. That's a great picture of her. Look at that. Wow. Wow. I want to ask you a question. Let's talk about it. I did not bring it up to this person. This person asked me to be informed, and I wasn't sure what to do. So I want to ask you first, because you're the organizer, and you've been JD a long time, and you've been there for much more than I have. Johnny Lance wanted to know what's going on. So,
I put all this stuff on Facebook. He should have it all.
maybe he does have.
It's open. It's open to the public. Anybody can come, any of the times. It's all open.
Okay.
And I put it on Facebook, and I'm saying, please come, please all, and he's saying love and all that stuff.
Oh, he does it? Oh,
yeah,
okay, so he knows about it.
So I think so. But if you talk to him, just make sure he knows he's invited.
Okay.
Because there are no invitations.
Right. It's, because he was on that cover. Do you have that cover with him on the book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was,
He might
the name of it.
He might ask to read one poem or something.
Here's the thing. There's 13 readers,
Right.
and then there's an open.
Okay.
So you can, as long as it's short.
Right.
And
He's
like,
sickly. Very
yeah.
sickly.
Is he?
Oh,
What's the
yeah.
matter with him?
He walks like this.
Oh, God. Oh,
Like that for a few years now. I heard it's gotten worse.
oh, God. I'm so
So,
sorry.
he might not
Oh.
come because
This is the Ridge Show.
Yes, it is the Rage
Well,
Show.
all right.
Okay. Here's the Rage.
The flyers. Like
Peter did most of this, I got to tell
Let
you.
me see the flyers.
Yeah, take a look.
Wow.
I wanted to ask you what record. Wow. Bandits and Maxes. She had these flyers?
Yes. Peter's got them all. Oh, she had tons of stuff. Yeah, Peter's got them all now because he's the literary and art executive.
That is good. That is great.
Oh, there's more flyers even.
I have,
These are the highlights.
she gave me a second,
Is it the right size?
a print copy of this,
It's a
Jan.
little wide, but
Oh, that's perfect. It's perfect. Oh my God, where did you get these?
I made these. See, this is 8.5 by 11 sheets.
Oh my God, it is.
This is 2 more 8.5 by 11.
Oh, look at you, aren't you amazing?
But see, I get the razor just slice a little bit. That way, a little light. That means I here is that book that Elizabeth and I read. And here is a book that Jake and I never started using, but I think it'd be by keeping track of who wants a painting or something. Or it's, yeah, no, should we have a guest register or something?
Yes, yes.
Anyway, like I say, something she had bought and didn't use, so it's this.
Maybe we can use this as a guest registry, and we'll use this to keep track of it. I don't know, well, it's on camera.
Oh, it might just be the same thing. I think most of them. But I'll tell you that that spray, the spray adhesive is a lot more facility than this. This is where it's going. Right, and I hear someone say, or like things that are fluttering in the breeze there.
Look at that.
Really big mess.
Yeah, except this, I think it was glued on before, that's why
Yeah.
it was on with rubber stamps.
But I'll tell you, right?
But you see this tape, you just put it right along the edge, right?
Yeah.
And then it's underneath, yeah, at the edge. That way it holds down. Right, now see. You know, I left some foam boards. They're clean on the front. Yeah, there's an initial strip there you have to throw away.
Wow. This is something that. Oh my gosh.
All the better, right?
Oh, yeah.
Here's the model for that mask. That was, you probably sat over here. The mask, that was the cover of Thaddeus Rutkowski's book, '16 Monologues. Right?
Yeah.
But this, I'm gonna put this up here with it.
Right.
And there's some other,
See, this piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made this one piece up. It was never on the post.
I know, it does seem a little creative.
Because number one is
It's
do it right.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
But, yeah. Wait, you know, I thought maybe you condensed it.
And it's right, it's bid that the.
So here, look at these. I think that's Sherry with the, that looks like JD. Oh, yeah?
I believe so, but that's my old mirror.
Yeah, put them in the mirror. Maybe I should have got this.
I have Jackie, she designed on the little place, somewhere in my, she designed the jacket.
Oh my fucking God. It's gotta come off somehow. How does it come off?
They didn't give me any direction. Protective wrap, it says. But the question is, how do you get off with it? Well, maybe you stick it on something and then try to get the nail underneath, which doesn't seem to be practical for that flyer right there. see here, see pictures of her office. And, here. And I mean, I want to make a poster board with these. Wow. State insurance fund. First thing I should do, that's how I was going to bring scissors, and I forgot to bring scissors. If you just make those a little bit narrower, it work a lot better.
Space, so all the sits are together. And then you put these photos of the jackets.
By the way, I learned how to spell my name.
Oh, yes, thank you. How do you spell it?
Well, I know I changed it to the way
No,
you
no,
said.
I'm probably wrong.
Oh, okay.
No,
Well,
we have to find, I
thought I said
no,
I was wrong.
I'm probably wrong, because I totally am the worst at spelling.
All right, so
What is this?
then I'll try to look it up on Sherry's name.
Oh, I looked it up. It's 2 R's on ID.
It's S-H-A or S-H-E?
SHA. Double R ID.
You read it on
That's
what?
Yes. I spell Peter's.
No, because he has, in the files I copied from Cleve's computer, this is a sharing.
Right. Good. Okay.
Along with a SCHMIDT here. Now you see this description of disciples of grave, I get the impression that's like tongue in cheek.
This is so cool. That's cool.
Hey Ted, how you doing?
Oh my God. Holy smokes.
I only use something because of the These things will be over here. I'm going to make CDs, Chris.
I cannot deviate from my own.
I'm going to hang these over here instead of this. Jackets. That'll bring some more jackets.
So this is big crystal.
So we have a couple questions,
Yes.
right go by, I just wanted to
You're
get
fine.
some space. Yeah, I wonder, is there gonna be any trouble getting in? Do I have to see someone?
You have to get your key.
Yeah.
So, first thing I do is,
Did a good job.
but, so, I'm trying to get him to respond to me. There's a couple
So, once in a lifetime chance, you know, he's doing this.
This is like, this is like 57 show at home. Yeah.
They've done this for a while.
They both want to keep.
Right.
You were in here and the other
And then I was down to the
I would keep it.
that I will be done.
I have a print of this.
Oh, yeah?
She wrote something on it, I printed the number and everything.
I mean,
Oh,
I can come right here on Thursday. Assuming there's someone there, he might not do that. He wasn't under this.
Thursday, no, but I'm coming Thursday. It's a Burning Block and Diana.
Okay, so you're coming also.
So I want to be here when they're here.
So will you be here till 7, so if that,
always sells.
You got chocolate. They're taking all your money.
Yeah.
So,
You go try.
you don't get children, grandchildren,
Yeah.
they're all signed. Yeah, a lot of people sign it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I rest.
Yeah. So, okay. But you have is it's all over. At any
No,
rate,
I'm good. But I will just drop off.
just talk, you come by, I'll make sure it's okay. And at least people will be here.
Yeah. I'll be up here.
And then they'll lock up.
And then I'll give it to you on Friday.
And then Friday I'll come.
Yeah, I
And
got
play
it.
home.
I got it. I have another question. Are the artworks here for sale?
Yes.
Except those are free.
This is free.
Okay.
And the artworks are for sale. Basically,
Okay.
it's for paintings that are for sale.
Okay.
So for
We don't know how much to charge.
So, right,
So
right.
I made a nominal price of $100 and we'll give you $99 discount as we let us know. But it depends.
No, I'm not asking, you know, I wanted to leave some pure artists.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
By the walls.
Yeah, which you want to get rid of.
Now I get it, yes.
Yes, come
But
on,
if
you want-
but I don't want to give them away. So
You don't want to give away.
No.
Yeah. There's giveaway and any sale is,
Yeah.
you know,
But if they don't
is,
sell all those things,
yeah, and I don't know how, you know, I'm
well, just take it back outside.
I don't know if any, oh, my.
You know, well, I'll take it back outside.
Yeah.
I have no pure artists.
Okay.
I thought I would leave them, so.
Yes.
But
But
it's
I'm not
kind
going
of
to put it
thing.
out because nobody else is going to use it. The only sales that are going to happen is the Saturday night.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see.
Everything else is a giveaway.
Oh, I
And
see.
then they
So I
just-
don't even need to remind myself.
Or Friday night, you know.
Right.
We will be
Okay.
here,
Okay.
put them on Friday night,
Okay.
or something, and then we get it, and what's done. And then after that, we're going to have donation day, because both interested in what on this. And then we're going to say that if people ask you for a donation,
Say, come Saturday.
come Saturday, talk to Peter, they're basically
Hey, we're going to-
$100 or that's all.
Yes.
Pretty all.
Okay, so we could do that.
So,
And where's reading?
yes, so we got to set up with it. Hey, making a little progress there. Good. We were gonna all that heavy.
Cool.
I didn't. Yes.
All right. Yes.
Oh, yeah, closer.
Most of my friends.
That's exactly right.
Peter, is this a print or actually painted?
No, that's a print. But there's a file found in the computer.
And what about, this?
That's an original. She had that frame, yeah, that's, I don't know how she put it, but. What is it, watercolor? But that was already mounted in the frame when I got it.
Yeah, he said he would be here, or I went to do a.
Chris, let me know when you're done.
See how that one goes? This is a sandwich board. There's another sandwich board close to coming in that I thought was going to be here coming tomorrow.
Just be aware of that.
Yeah, I might just try.
But it's working.
It's working now.
Great.
Next month again, this month again, great shot again.
Great. Want a shot?
Wow.
Yeah, was this in her apartment? I guess so. I remember seeing it when I came in our meeting.
I think you need to look at it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
This is what I feel.
Yeah.
So this is not, I haven't writing this down.
Well, there was a book called Relentless.
Yes.
But do you have that here?
I don't have it here, but
You have it. Okay.
I remember you doing this piece. They put up a piece that you wrote that she did the drawings for.
Can you do me a favor?
I remember.
Can you, I don't have this.
Right, I'll take a picture of it
So
for you.
please take a picture of that for me.
But I remember this distinctly because I don't know how many times I have quoted this one, number 19.
I don't remember.
The supreme fist
But I
fucker
never
announces for
remember.
$50 fee. His fist will shake hands with your kidneys. I remember you doing that distinctly. Distinctly.
That has disappeared from my files. And if you want to take a picture of that, because that's not in my files either.
I've actually paraphrased that and quoted that oodles of times.
I totally don't know where that is. Actually, this one. Get that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm zooming into everything. I've done it the whole round.
Thinking about
yeah, I know some.
He's the, I know him from ABC Arena.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't think I was aware of him back then.
that's
Some of these are striking. I mean, that one here, the way she got the folds of the of the the coat,
right.
that takes work to be able to do it that well.
But I like this one. That's my favorite.
Well, because of the blood.
Just the way it's formed.
Yeah. Well, not only that, because it's also like self-vandalized, where she scrawled "dead" or "dead" across
I
it.
like that a lot. I think
Yeah.
this fits me good.
Yeah. Yeah, the way he's, really he's more like an afterthought, like he is already exiting the scene.
Right. Right. It's great work.
Well, I used to work at a movie theater.
And of course, I mean, you were over her place, right? So you saw this shrine in the corner.
I used to see it all the time.
Yeah.
It was repertory.
JD used to say to me, "Oh, we end up doing
And they had like double feature.
Yeah, but not the way I wanted. I
Yeah,
wanted it
yeah.
rock, which was live.
Yeah.
I felt so weird picking this stuff out there. So,
I gotta have waste baskets all around it.
so I'm glad you got this because I'm gonna wanna.
Yeah, right. Before I go, yeah, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do that right now.
I don't have that in my files. And this was, I made this up. I said it was on the walls of Hellfire.
Yeah, I
It wasn't.
know, I kind of figured that. But I still like that because, the supreme fist fucker will shake hands with your kidneys. Yeah, that's just quotable. The thing is, there's, could you stand behind me? No, to the left. A little bit more, Yeah, because thing is, it's getting the reflection from the sun outside. Okay, I'm going to try that again. Oops. Try it again with the flash.
And then, that was just before I got there, and then he decided to convert it to this repertoire. It was still a meeting place. So, I didn't go up to
Yeah, it's not really much of a difference.
back to standing as a back wall.
Okay.
They had to go outside.
There's no guarantee how good this will come out.
It was a little ritual, you know?
Yeah, it's not really that good.
Right.
I can try it again from a distance and see if I can blow it up. Yeah, the sunlight from the open door is not really.
I might offer to buy that.
Yeah. Can't really guarantee. Okay. No. See, taking a picture of.
You're not a Thailand.
No, but I still want to start talking. I'm in between San Francisco. I was
She's hospital. And I hope on a few blocks away. There's like sort of overseas, see what's going on. I have paid 5 days a week, and then I would hire somebody for the weekend. Yeah. And I asked what the case changes. Right. We're changing the worse. We're changing the time, or I could even change the plan. I have to watch that. Where do you go?
Slightly better.
Is what? Yeah, it's very hard.
Well, it's like I said, because they have the light
Right.
from the back door open.
Yeah, they usually have those.
You're going to adopt it now?
Maybe the first one.
Yeah.
And I told them, people use that here at home. You know, we didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
It's time. I said, it's time. She just, her mother was taking care of her. And she, her mother died. So she's just reconnecting with us as well. So, she's good. She's doing a lot of work.
Working on that.
I told her, man, it's good person.
No, I mean, it was going to be on my service, which I changed it. And I had found her name misspelled, and I'm like, Chris, ICONICIDE's name misspelled.
Again?
Oh, no, thank you. Oh, no, I never even.
Is that wrong?
Sunday we're gonna meet.
Yeah, it's,
And this other family thinks we can do that.
Okay.
all right.
And,
You go with
Fabulous.
one.
and then I might fix up a house a little for her. Put some money into her. And then I'll get a condo for me and her to live in.
How do you, can you do that if you're not a citizen?
I'm gonna get a retirement visa. And I can buy a condo. I can't buy a house.
Oh, okay.
You can't own property except the condo. So I will buy a condo. I'll rent first,
Yeah.
and then let me and her will figure it out. And we'll work it from there.
You're keeping your place here.
Yes. In fact, I'm going for that special program where they freeze your rent, because I'm 62 and I'm
Scree.
rent,
Scree.
Skeet, yes, Scree,
Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna go for Scree. That's the program, where they freeze your rent if the rent's stabilizing at 62.
You're 62?
I'm 62. So young. So I'm trying to do that. So young. And then,
Compared to me.
really? Yeah. I don't know, I always looked at you as younger.
No, I'm older.
Oh. So you buy.
Thank you.
You buy from your, well, your kid is, your daughter is a young woman now.
She's 17.
Yeah. But that still doesn't mean anything. We could have had it when we were very young. I don't remember now.
Right, true,
Yeah.
true. She'll be my granddaughter.
A lot of the Thai women told me, I was seeing this Thai woman who she was 33, and she had a 15-year-old daughter. I said, when did you have your kid? She says, I was 13, I had my baby. I said, really? She said, yeah. She says, and I'm done now.
Wow.
I had my kids 13, 14, 15.
Wow.
Now I retired.
How old is she now? Oh, 33.
33, 34.
So who, Chris,
Yes.
are you coming to do any, sitting in the gallery?
No.
I didn't see the name of the list, but he's in
No,
the
no.
show.
He's in the show. No, I know he is. I had sent you an email today saying I'd been sending all the information to the wrong email address. And I invited you to come and sit with anybody if you wanted.
Yeah,
Tonight
things
is
are kind
Tuesday.
of up in the air.
Wednesday is Peter and,
You went up to.
I'm going Wednesday. That's tomorrow.
no, Thursday is you and E. Who's Wednesday?
So it's called Culture Clash.
Yeah,
I don't know, but the list that I brought, I left.
Is it Bruce?
I did.
No, it can't be
An
Bruce.
experimental piece that got published in Evergreen, because I thought it got published in Evergreen, it would go over good.
Larry and I are coming tomorrow.
Mike, what's his name, Big Mike?
Big Mike.
He's an actor
Mike Logan.
in my piece, and she hates Mike Logan. And she thought that Mike Logan was the
Larry,
piece.
Larry,
She
that's
realized that I
what I
wrote
remember,
it.
yeah, because I just texted him.
And she
All
thought
right.
Mike wrote it.
I would like to, I don't know, maybe I should just go back home and bring
Man,
these
you
mom
and mine.
tomorrow.
At that time, but since then, I've had a talk with Ronnie.
Because I don't seem to be able to do here, I don't know.
Maybe-
I thought I had left those boards here, but apparently I didn't, so it'd be a question
Oh,
of,
I just-
I
think they're in that
the
room.
boundaries. I could
I
work
didn't
with it, I
think they
could work
were,
with it.
but now that I know that
I
they're
could
not.
have made it into a
How do you
political
know
fight.
that?
because I went and looked.
It almost went in that direction, but.
So maybe I'd go over to that Kinko's
Patience for that.
and see if they
So
got
I
some
just shook hands.
construction paper or something, is what I'm trying to
I'll
say.
give you the
Ah,
reading.
okay.
Otherwise, I think I'm gonna go home
Okay.
Well,
and not, you know, do
I
these
didn't
like
say
the
nothing
others
to
and bring
Mike.
them back tomorrow,
Wants to
because
go to war.
I guess I gotta come back
understand
tomorrow
that,
to bring that,
I,
well,
the new,
So I'll be here.
signs.
I'll be here with
you
Larry.
know, I'm trying to work,
And,
get them published.
I wanted
I'm
to.
gonna be back in a few minutes, okay?
Oh, you're, okay.
You're
I
going to
thought you were
publish
going-
more than perform.
Yeah.
Oh, I just told you, I said, I'm
You're
gonna
going
go
to
to Kinko's.
And I
And if
thought
they don't have what I'm looking for, then I'll
I'm getting
go.
old, I don't know if I can perform the way.
She's fucking good attitude. Well, I'm gonna have to.
No, I don't know, I guess I'm talking too fast, baby. I'm
That's
too
why
agitated.
I'm writing where I
It's
want
all
to
right.
go.
Okay. Amazing about.
I'm gonna try to put out a book.
I have nothing to say.
I'm gonna see if I can find some construction paper, actually, you know, maybe a dollar store.
They do nice books.
Like,
Yeah, you know
Jim
this dollar
says,
store.
do a book in Thailand and we'll work it out.
Great.
So I think that's gonna be my goal.
Yeah.
So that's it. I have a few goals to go for, which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll get.
But Jim Feast is in Vietnam now.
Yeah, he's in Vietnam now. Yeah, he has,
Yeah.
he's gonna be there for a few months, I think.
I was in the draft, but I didn't go to Vietnam.
Yeah, well.
You guys. How muscular are you?
I'm not, as you can see.
What needs to be done?
There's a bench downstairs that needs to be come up.
Okay.
So we have more seats.
Where's
Yeah.
the bench?
It's down the basement somewhere.
Don't go in the
Yeah,
basement.
yeah. Just take a look at. Can you stand here while I go down the basement?
Sure.
Okay. Don't let him.
Right, don't let anyone in the bathroom.
Okay. Now you can. Chris, especially not Chris.
This way, I just piss in the sink like I always do.
Is there a light? This is the light, maybe.
Well, that is the light there.
Walk towards the light. There is no light.
You said it was near the electrical stuff.
Electrical stuff.
Oh, crap. Other people have been coming down here and doing all kinds of stuff. Where's the lights?
Where is the... There are lights here, but I don't know if there's a switch. Or anything of that sort. See, there are lights in here.
Now there's a switch over here, but it didn't do anything.
Uh-huh.
There's got to be a light in here because there's a washing machine.
Don't go in the basement.
Step up here and see if there were more
Okay, I have a light
lights.
over here.
Oh, it on? Oh, okay.
Bench being here?
Yeah, she said by electrical stuff, so, and it was something that we need to bring up.
There's seats, but as far as a bench goes...
Where do you see seats? Oh yeah, those chairs, those have to come up too.
You want me to start bringing them up?
Yeah, maybe we could bring a few up. That would be good.
Okay.
This whole magazine,
I will give you some
I
money.
made a photocopy of the cover, but I have the whole magazine. These, I forget how they were,
Because I didn't have this piece. I don't have it.
well, I'll definitely make
I'm
a
shocked. I'm
copy.
shocked. I'm
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah.
I forgot she designed this piece. I remember it now a little, but I'm willing to buy it or
See, I could maybe keep the copy and give you the original.
whatever you want to do.
Because you're a close friend, so I don't want to.
Whatever way you want to do it, but I
But,
don't have first
That's
dad before anybody else.
Well, we should tell everybody it's all $1,000, not $74. Well, you get a man and a man. All right. Yeah, see, now we should mark that down in the book. Barbara's favorite, oh, yeah, okay, well, we can copy. But since it's saved as a poem, he could get the original, because he can copy.
Okay. Oh, you're going to give away the original?
Well, I'm still willing to give you some money for
Here.
I bid on a piece at an auction, and so, and I was thinking that I was the first bidder, so I thought, no, I'm gonna get this. Wow. I did that much. Then I go wrong.
You know who, Club 57 in the show. So I told Mitch that his flyer is part of the Club 57 show at MoMA. So he, for some reason, well, he's sickly. So for some reason, he couldn't get to the show. So what I did is I took a photograph of it and I gave it to him. So this way he could,
Okay.
he could
Yeah,
have
so
it.
he's been in MoMA, yeah.
Yes, you can see, yeah. And they also had Jennifer blow dryer on, they had this video thing where they kept showing everybody from Club 57. It was a beautiful image of blow dryer, Jennifer blow dryer. But my camera didn't catch it in time.
What?
It was
I
so
remember
fast.
going to Club 57. I'm pretty sure I saw Keith Haring read there.
More,
Like a
more,
poem.
Jim.
Well,
should
I
he start
he
using that
gave him
one?
something
Yes,
that
one
did
page.
material
I'm gonna
wise.
take that
I
out.
have
Take
the
that out,
sketch,
yeah.
but I have to look for it.
Wow, I just remember him. I didn't know who he was,
It seemed like.
but then I saw pictures of him later, and I remembered that's a
I gotta
guy
leave some space on this.
that I saw
Maybe
at
add
Club
to it.
57.
I have to tell you.
That's probably a better deal.
What? Jimmy's down the well? Jimmy's down the well. Oh no. Lassie's down the well. What shall we do? Lassie is down the well.
You on Saturday night, are you gonna sing or play or just read a poem?
Yeah, I'm going to read a piece that,
How's that?
I'm gonna-
straight? You gotta stand back.
stand back, there's a hurricane coming through. Just about.
Enough.
Yeah, I'm reading a piece that I found. It was written on a Post-it that was used as a bookmark in a book of hers on witchcraft.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And it was written on a post-it, used as a bookmark. That's.
Yes.
I should maybe get a photocopy for the archives.
Probably. What I could do is I could scan it and email it to you.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Actually, that wasn't me, that was somebody else. Some guy left his friend, I had this one of his friends, and she was,
I know, I just saw someone.
I'll tell you what, Chris, I'll throw you $5 for a little poll in it, okay? I'll make it a little easier to be economic, okay?
Hello, everybody. Yeah. Welcome to the J.E. Rage, also known as Hello, J.E. Rage Memorial Art Show and Poetry. Hey, everybody want to come in and sit down? That's
Is this the
about to start.
Hello.
Is this thing on?
We got everybody? All right. Welcome to the memorial for J.D. Rage, also known as Janet Whalen. There's people here from all different walks of her life, from people who went to college with her, to people who worked with her, people who were in the poetry scene with her, people who were in the music scene with her, and people who have been with her through her illnesses, and people who have been through all of it with her. And we're here to celebrate her life, and I want to first off thank the organizing committee, Bruce Weber, Joanne Pagano, Fad RUTKOWSKI, Edward ARROCHA, David Huberman. He's going to go last. Is there anybody else? Maybe me. And then Peter KOZLOWSKI. Who was in bands with her and did all these poetry things with her, but also Peter is the executor of her literary and art estate. And so together we went through her house and cleaned it out, and when we did that, he took all this stuff and more back to his giant apartment in Brooklyn. And so he's also going to be selling the artwork, so if anybody has something that they have their eye on, talk to him after the program. And he's going to, and in honor of JD, who was never one to follow directions, we are going to move the order of people around, and Peter, who once was last, will now be first. So with that, I give you Peter KOZLOWSKI singing a JD Rage song.
This is a song that she wrote, and she did it with at least 3 bands. She did it with Baby Boom, with Valkyries, and with Disciples of Rage, a song called We Are the Rejects. And of course, back in the day, it was a punk song, We Are the Rejects. And this is an unplugged version.
going to go back to the order of the original program. And because this is a memorial, anybody who is going to come up, just who's on the list, come up, read, and you have a couple minutes to talk about JD, and then read your 3-minute poem. And then once everybody on the list is read, anybody who wants to stand up and say something about JD may. And before I start my 3-minute poem, I just want to say that JD meant an enormous amount to me. We were friends since 1981, and I came to New York and started bands and got involved with drugs and had a great time with JD and was pretty crazy, but then I forgot what I was going to say about her.
Probably the drugs.
Just hard. What did you say?
Probably the drugs.
Yeah, I might have something to do with the drugs. However, so anyway, after that, we went to, she took me to my first AA and NA meeting, and through the next course of the next 30-some years together, she was really instrumental in my getting sober, and she was herself stayed sober for all that time. In that time, she also, I had all these stories to tell, I've forgotten them all, but the one thing I want to say is that when she, in February, she hit 33 years, I gave her 33-year coin, and while she was lying in the hospital bed, in the last part of her hospital and then into hospice, she had this coin in her hand the entire time. And once it fell out of her hand, and when she was intubated, and she made all these things, and we went around on the floor and found it, and she needed this coin in her hand for that time, and it was really moving, and I keep it with me all the time now. So I'm going to read from the Cafe Nico 1996 Alternative New Year's Day reading, J.D. Wage's the 3-minute poem. This is the 3-minute poem for the new year of 1996, where I cannot tell you enough about 1995 because there is no time, and if anyone else reads longer than me, they will be on my shit list for at least another 3 minutes. I lost people this year so important to me that it ruined my fascination with death forever. But what am I without my death? I will have to recreate myself again as a living being, and rising from the dead is not a pleasant experience, I can assure you. The one constant thing about being alive is that it's painful. I wasted many hours writing responses to all the ridiculous New York press writers who puked out articles about tattooed people being morons. Oh, surely that is me. Am I not the queen of the morons? And how drug addicts and alcoholics who are trying to quit are totally stupid, since drug addiction and alcoholism are such fun things. Boy, I never had so much fun as when my cocaine psychosis had me seeing weirdos with shotguns after me everywhere, or whether under heroin hallucinations I watched visions of my dead body trailing brown blood stains down the drain in my shower stall. What a blast, I can tell you. I have notebooks full of these drivelish letters to the editor, but I did not send any because I refused to glorify these so-called writers with my negative attention or to do anything to help them get their names in print ever again. I burned off all my long black hair, trying to look like Marilyn Monroe, hoping to attract someone to me, still believing in the blondes have more fun commercials, even though I was blonde before and knew that they don't. So I wound up spending a third of the year looking like Mr. Clean, who looks like Yul Brynner, and was the same birthday as me, and realized I had been twisted by fate. As usual, that night I stayed up, re-bleaching my hair until it broke off in long brownish black clumps, and I cried for the old me who would never, never come back again. I stayed clean and sober in 1995, now an 11-year hiatus from my slow suicide, and I have been clean and sober, but I have not been good, and have no intention of ever doing so. For some strange reason, I moved from my tenement railroad dump apartment from hell that used to have out of the blue and into the black spray paint on the gray kitchen wall. I'm going out of the black and into the blue, and in my new place, I feel like I'm living in a hotel room. It's too clean, too spacious. 1996 is here, 12 years post-Big Brother, and I have lost myself completely. Oh, punk may be dead. Oh, heavy metal is getting light again. Oh, where is my watch? I can't find it in this sea of boxes. I am late for everything, and I can't tell what time it is. But I do know that 3 minutes is approaching quickly, and that time, whatever it may be, flies faster every year until the minutes whirl into eternity, and maybe when you die, you don't even notice because things are speeding by like tigers, chasing their tails so fast they turn to butter, or like this poem that is runny and gooey because a 3-minute poem is like a 3-minute egg, especially when you can't keep track of time. So why don't you crack the top open with your spoon and try to eat this poem? For all I know, there may be double yolk, or a chicken embryo, or a free coupon for one entrance to the pearly gates inside. That's the J.D. research. Next person. So when people, who's next? Tell who you are and how you know J.D. also. So after me is Edward ARROCHA.
So, how you doing?
Hey.
So you can call me Eek or whatever you want to call me, but I didn't really read any of her poems. I just have to say a few things about her. I was the one person who spoke to JD every day for the last 6 years of her life. I also walked her dog for the last 6 years of her life. And I also spent the last weeks of her life with Jan and Peter going to hospice every day. I've been through bands with JD, I've been through the poetry theme with JD, but most importantly, towards the end of her life, we never spoke about bands of poetry, we just spoke about life. When you speak to somebody every day for 6 years and you go to their house every day for 6 years, you become their secret keeper. So I'm not going to tell you the secrets she told me, because they're secrets. But I do know one thing. JD was a real fighter. I've never met anybody in the world who was such a fighter. When she was down and out after she had brain surgery, she kept quoting Bob Dylan lyrics and asking me if she was still alive. And speaking about her dog, I remember when she was out in the nursing home and she had to do something as an MRI downtown, and I brought a dog and her little dog hugged her and she said, "I want to live." She lived for that dog. The day that dog died, she started to die real fast. JD, what can I tell you? She loved fishing. I don't know if any of you know this. I remember when she went to caught some fluke with me, which is extraordinary. I remember when a big fish in East River broke her line, which was really extraordinary. I remember when we went to Lake George. We went to Lake George 4 times. When we drove upstate to her house where she grew up. I remember Niagara Falls. I remember so many things. I remember the bird who would run up my arm and cuddle in my arms. And when he went away, I was heartbroken because she told me a week before she died, she said, "Elvis De Niro are getting a good home. I think that's it." And I was, in a way, happy that she went to a better place, because for some of us, the suffering had become unbearable. And her suffering, I don't know if I, personally, could deal with that kind of suffering. I don't know. I don't know if I'm that kind of fighter. I don't know if I can be bedridden and somehow rise from the bed and get in the car and drive to Lake George and catch a bunch of fish and have a fish fry. I don't know if I can do that. To me, JD was, as some of you might know, I met JD here in New York City at ABC No Rio at a poetry reading, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And she introduced me to a lot of the poetry scenes here in New York City, and very importantly, she introduced me to a place where I got better, because if some of you, well, probably none of you remember here, but I was very, very wild and very crazy. And I think I was knocking on death's door. I was that hardcore, if you all know what I mean. I'm not going to go into details. So I'm really happy today to be part of the people honoring JD's life. Again, I don't think as JD as music, poetry, or any of that. I think of JD as a really close friend of mine. I call her from Europe. I call her from Puerto Rico. I call her from everywhere. And I still have Jay's ashes in my house. And when she adopted another dog, that dog came to me. So I still have a little part of her in my house, a little dog that she adopted. And I am just very happy and kind of very humbled and actually very sad and overwhelmed to be part of this memorial. And that's all I can say, so thanks.
Thank you. Now it's gone.
Is it? Okay. I wanted to wear my cover example bra on, and I don't really wear one anymore, but I thought I would have. It's too freaking hot. So here I am. Like you, Jan, I so many stories, and ones that would probably weave in beautifully with other people's stories, she was one crazy broad on the one hand, and she was so incisively brilliant. I was thinking the word I wanted to use was an incendiary in my life. Maybe was. Of course, I knew her first was Janet in 1965. We were both in Catholic girls' school. And then, yeah, subsequently both got pregnant, which is something they train you to do in Catholic school. By omission. Maybe omission isn't the right word. Emission. I'm sorry. And I have so many things I want to say about her, but mostly I think Joanne has a poem that she's going to read. I don't know if you're doing this right after me or not. That J.D. wrote after a visit up north. I live up in Washington County, well, near the Vermont border, and on the river. And I don't know that I've ever read this poem before, so, or heard it, or seen it. So that's quite lovely. And I find that the things that I wanted to say about J.D., I feel like I'm saying them in little pieces to people throughout the time that I'm here. Little stories, little vignettes. So I guess that will have to do. So to my brilliant, brilliant friend, who was so smart and so messed up all at the same time, I just, I'll see you around. Thank you.
And Paul's not here, right?
No, I emailed him twice.
And me too. All right. So now we have. She really should have known she was going to put on. You should have said it. I liked it. I didn't know what it was.
Are you going to get on the screen? Yeah. Take your vest off.
Hi, I'm Bruce Weber, and I knew JD from around 90 when Eek and JD did this reading in Tribeca that I went to with my ex-wife Jan, and they told me that they were going to be running. Who knows about this reading? Who I actually saw a couple of weeks ago upstate. And they said, oh, they're going to be running a reading at ABC Del Rio, where I had actually gone one time, and it was like a bad Sunday. And I started to go to ABC, and I went for 25 years. And then they did it for like a year, and I organized it for like over 20 years. And it was a fantastic place. Some glimpse of what it was like is to look at the cover of this. Because I made a little movie of us. So a lot of the people who are involved in the film are on that, and a number of them are here, and they're good old friends. And we had great times together. Not only at the readings, but we used to go out after the readings all the time and hang out. So a lot of close friends and important relationships. And I mean, JD in the poetry scene was an enormous force. We used to do events at a place that Larry Jones ran, which he called Cafe Nico, because Nico, the singer, apparently lived there. On Avenue 8 between 6th and 7th. And I started the alternative New Year's reading. We were there for 5 years. And JD ran many events. She had me host one of the events we did for Karari, which was a wonderful magazine. Voices that most of us are still around. Some of us are gone, like JD and Bob Hart, who died a couple of years ago. Grace Period, who was there, who I called today on the phone, is out in California. But JD published a lot of us. She published, I think our last book was a book that she published of mine. And then out of the blue one year, she said, I'm going to do another issue of Karari, and which is probably at least over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But she did that, but a real force, and Thad too. You know, I'll read a piece. And it ended up, as many of you know, I'm a curator. I worked in many museums and galleries. The first show I ever curated was a show, and I didn't know it was a future friend was JD. It was at Brooklyn College when she was Janet Whalen. And I was a student volunteer in the gallery there. And we learned many, many years after that I actually curated a show of her work. It was the first one I ever did. This is 1972. Carnation. The boy with the smooth skin said, maybe it was Sid who made all these paintings crooked. Sid Vicious. Okay? And a lot of those paintings are in the back. Maybe it was Sid who made all these paintings crooked. I don't see how you can have so many paintings of a person in one place without calling up his spirit. Even the reproduction of a Native American wrapped in a blanket was hanging perfectly straight from one small nail in the upper right-hand corner that belonged to the picture next to it. I got a little scared when I tried to make it hang like that again, and it responded normally to the pull of gravity. I kept putting that carnation back. I remember what happened when I moved the biggest Sid collage the first time. It had a carnation tucked into its lower frame. Every night the carnation returned to the windowsill near where the 32 pasted cutout and drawings of him originally hung, and every night I patiently put it back. I didn't think much about it then, just what a nuisance it was to keep putting that damn flower back into the pink mirror frame which housed the Sid collage. Then the whole thing started falling. It fell a lot, but mostly about 3 a.m., crashing down in a dead sleep. I would awaken stifling screams. I didn't want to return the piece to its former location. So I reinforced the hanging wire, but then the eyelets would pull loose. So I covered the eyelets with epoxy, but then the hanging wire at quadruple thickness would break in two, looking like it had been sliced with a knife. Finally, I took that carnation and put it in a box with a deep purple amethyst crystal, so deep in color it appeared to be black. The collage didn't move again until I moved it. Just one day, after the second relocation of Sid, I found that collage tucked in between the collage and the mirror frame. I returned the crumbling flower to the plastic box with the crystal and taped the thing shut. Since then, I have been smashed in the face by unknown strangers, have been stabbed my ham on a mysterious shattering glass coffee pot, and auditioning musicians have been unable to restrain themselves from touching my bass strings to show me where a note is. Even though the piano is barely out of tune and all my paintings remain in anarchy, refusing to hang straight. And yesterday my key broke in half in the door. The second broken key in 2 months. When I look at my cockeyed collection of paintings of who's dead but not forgotten, I have a feeling this isn't over yet.
Dad.
Yes, thanks. I know this is a very sad occasion, but it's nice to see a lot of my old friends here. Yeah, I guess similar to Bruce, I was involved with the ABC No Rio Sunday afternoon poetry open mic series, and there were some rotating host Bruce Weber, Eek, JD, myself, and so we would take different Sundays and host. I wanted to mention a couple other of those regulars from those readings have passed on, and they're probably friends of ours as well. One was Tommaso, and the other was Bob Hart. That come to mind, so I wanted to mention them. Also, I have actually spent some time in this gallery. I was here for 3 hours yesterday, basically by myself, sitting in this gallery, and I want to mention that I've looked carefully at a lot of these artworks, and they reward a close look if you take the time. Now I work for Art Forum magazine, so I tend to look at art closely, and I can say that with confidence. The other thing that, I wanted to mention that JD is very supportive of my work, and I didn't know until I was in this gallery this week that there's an original artwork of hers that was on a book of mine, and there it is on the wall, and there's the book. She put out 2 of my chapbooks called Sex Fiend Monologues, 1 and 2. Now, in that title, sex is an okay word, and monologues is an okay word, but fiend is not an okay word. Fiend casts some doubt on what these monologues are about. And at the time, I guess I thought that I thought maybe I could be a porn writer, but the books never sold, so they weren't porn. Because they never sold, because they never sold, they were art. They were not porn. Or else they would have sold, right? Okay, so I'm going to read a poem that Bruce Weber assigned to me. It's from Stained Sheets, which is the broadside that Bruce put out from that reading on Sunday at ABC No Rio. And this poem is called Desecration 105. A bum in City Hall Park told me, "You look nice in that suit." This is the first pleasant comment I've had from the street in many years. It made my yesterday, but today is here again, and I'm spending time contemplating the state of the inside of a Manhattan pigeon's stomach after watching one peck at smashed things and bits of glass it found on the bus stop sidewalk. Last night, while I was waiting for the M9, under the view of a golden-winged statue that inflamed the downtown sky with dazzling reflections of the setting sun, a sparrow landed near me. It landed several times. At least I think it was the same sparrow. It flew in wide circles, from traffic sign to median tree, only to put down in the street in front of me again and cock its head at me. It was a very thin sparrow. I wondered if it was waiting for me to dole out some crumbs, some food, or if he was the spirit of my guardian angel, foreshadowed by the towering gilded statue before the darkening sky, sent to give me a message to let me know that he would always be there. Otherwise, why would he spend his time in the middle of East Broadway when there was a beautiful lawn of young green grass only inches away? Then I remembered how the rats run through the park at night and realized the lawn must be full of poison, or only fake sod with no worms, or contaminated worms. And who cares anyway? After all, a sparrow is really just a flying rat anyway.
Oh, yes, yes, sure.
Yeah. So, I love JD. I did. She saved my life. I thought she was the coolest thing in Ray-Bans. She never really asked me to be anything but Charlene. She's very annoying at times. And so am I. You know, and I don't House JD stories. I just really loved her. You know, I just really loved her. And I wish that I could do JD for you and just stomp across the stage and like I did that once in my students and they were freaked out. And you know, but I'll do my best. When I read this poem and when we were looking for what we should read, I thought this is the JD poem that I think of. You know, it describes her, it describes her apartment, it describes her brain, the inside of her brain, which is the reason I fell in love with her, because it's, you know, a lot of noise in there for me too, and she was one of the few people I know that talk about it. So this is called Dead Roses. While I was eating dinner, I noticed that the dead white rose is bleeding. A man, and I don't know if he is homeless, so I will just refer to him as a drunken bum, rants incoherent poetry outside my window. My large red fish swims around, ignoring this recitation. Sounds vaguely like Shakespeare. The leopard curtains shrink as a cold draft pours through the crack where the window won't go all the way down. I yell, "Shut up!" and think about tomorrow and things that never come. All the while knowing that at this very second, a million lovers are within reach of ecstasy. 10,000 souls are getting their heads blown off, or knives buried in their throats. At least 500 old ladies are tossing breadcrumbs to pigeons. Many corpses are being pumped with formaldehyde and placed in boxes and getting dirt thrown on their face. And one wild man is raving on my sidewalk, doing a good impression of the inside of my own head. Got a pig on my computer and a hubcap on my wall. How much more could anyone want? The silence is deafening, because my brain will not be quiet and chooses solemn moments to begin its idiotic chanting. There are dead roses everywhere today, it says. I wonder if Lee Harvey Oswald was innocent, it says. I wonder if death will give a wink before swallowing, it says. The phone is ringing. No, it's only the bird. He does the phone better than any phone, and you can't turn the volume down. Like in your head, like in your head. There's a good imitation of someone crying. There is a passable mimicking of intelligence, but there is also a poor excuse for a dream of freedom from all fear. All those dreams where the baby died, and the dog died of starvation because you forgot to feed them, because you were too lazy to go to the store. Nothing could save them. They were your crime. But as usual, you can breathe a big sigh of relief when you wake up and nothing is real again. Got everything money can buy. Got a simple silver gargoyle bat dog on a chain. Got a Frankenstein doll. Got a computer that talks. What more could anyone want? When happiness comes, it lands like a butterfly, and it takes off in a hurry. I don't know if the chants I'm hearing are from the Shakespearean bum or broadcasting from my pit, but I'm hearing chants, gibberish. I wonder if you will burn in hell, it says. I wonder if it's even worth it for you to read the tarot or talk to the fortune teller, it says. Empty is empty, it says. Got a pig on my computer. Got a hubcap on my wall. Got a bird that rings like a telephone. Got a clock that looks like dynamite. Got a fan that looks like a robot with red flashing eyes. And it cools you off too. What more could anyone want? There are dead roses in the kitchen because that's where I put them. I wish I could give them away for presents, but I couldn't bear to lose them. They are all I have left of me. And besides, who would want dead roses? And who would love dead roses? One woman's dead rose is another woman's useless, dusty, and sometimes moldy garbage. So I'll keep them, especially the white one that is bleeding.
I didn't know J.D. so well, but we exchanged emails occasionally, commenting about some comment on Facebook, and I always appreciated her. At the New Year's Day Poetry Extravaganza, I remember seeing her more often than at other readings. I didn't know she was such an awesome artist. These are amazing. There's so many of them too, so many pieces, so much she did, and the jackets too. I wish she did a jacket for me. I went to Catholic school, so I know how crazy that makes you. So I recognize that. I was never female before. J.D. Rage. I was never female before, and I have lived in many forms. My earliest memories are those of an ancient turtle in a swamp snapping my jaws at giant buzzing dragonflies. Diving deep towards underwater caves at the sight of threatening shadows of leathery wings blotting out the light. I still have my shell. Always bring with you the most useful thing. I was a lizard too, a young lizard who wasn't fast enough. Of all things, I love to fly. The sight and sound of feathers and wings reminds me that as a bird, I was always male, and as a turtle and a lizard, I never learned the lessons, never wanted to raven, eagle, crow, even in human form. An Egyptian astrologer disguised as a woman for safety's sake, I cared for nothing but study. I dreamed of learning the secrets of the stars. I knew more then than I will ever know again. I learned why the brain is left unused. In South America, I was half man, half woman, but half of a thing, never quite equals the whole. I knew how to speak with spirits. No stronger magic existed than potions concocted in my prehistoric turtle shell, attracting the essence of both risen and fallen angels. I was dancing around a fire when I first dreamed the smashing orb of sun rushing at the earth in fiery anger, falling from the sky with all the power of a hungry bird of prey. It glowed and spun, intent on burning. I felt the heat and awoke to embers in the fire in a feathered dead center. My wolf life was a hard one. During the time of eroding wilderness and disappearing forests in the West, Native Americans were taken to exist in squalor on the reservation. I hid by day and watched the invasion, but could never control my genetic urge to worship the silver moon. I was beautiful, howling when a rifle blast cut off my song. Death came and blood draining from matted red fur. Panting, I escaped the lifeless carcass and saw its open yellow eyes, glad to have died before the hunter came to prod old enemy wolf with the butt of his gun. I reappeared in Europe as an artist, painting all the things I had seen, until visions of the turtle shaman wolf drove me crazy, and I committed suicide. I committed suicide and soared off into eagle-gliding, cool wind currents, turning and swooping on expansive wings. Master of all below, tempted to fly straight into the orange glow and melt, descending in a rush of flapping, grabbing a small furry creature in my steel vice talons, ripping into its flesh high on a bare mountain crag. I missed the kill and the suicide and the sun coming down, baptizing my magic. I was a crow on Connecticut Hill, a pet without a cage. I would perch upon the large fingers of a man who became my father. When I was born a female, when I lived this life as female, learning lessons of blood, of loneliness, of prejudice, of poverty, of escapism without suicide, of giving life, learning lessons I never wanted to know. My father was nicer to me when I was a crow. Female is a harder thing than wolf facing civilization, even with the feather from the center of the fire, even with a prehistoric turtle shell.
God bless you. David?
I'm trying to remember, I don't remember what year I met JD, because I met her in recovery, and I was coming back. I was from Angel Dust, and I was really very, very burnt out. And I remember JD comes up to me with Sherry, and I said to her, I'm a very dangerous man. And she nodded her head. She said, you got a lot of Sid Vicious buttons. But like that, even worse, because so she said, yes, I do. She says, we're going to sit down. Why don't we sit together, all three of us? So Sherry sat on this side, and JD sat on that side. And I'm looking at her, I'm looking at Sherry. I'm saying, because at that time, I was definitely, I lost 6 years. So I just, when I was 31, I go to these meetings on St. Mark's, and I was going in a very different direction. If I didn't go into NA, I don't know where I would be. I think I would have been something that we wouldn't want to know about. So JD's sitting here, Sherry's sitting there, I'm looking. And then the meeting goes on, I'm a little shaky. And then after the meeting, JD says to me, I'm going to give you my phone number. And I memorized her phone number. And I never memorized anybody else's number. And it's 505-9543. And that's the only number that I memorized other than my mother's number. Those are the two numbers that I remember. And you could have the most beautiful woman. She would give me her number. I wouldn't remember it. But JD's number I remember. Because she was so powerful in my recovery. And and also she was not judgmental. She was the most loyalist person I ever met in my life. She was loyal to me when she shouldn't have been loyal to me. I even said, oh, this is a bad situation I'm making for you. And she secretly said, oh no, we're still going to be friends. And then later she said, I'm doing an investigation. And then she says, oh, you're totally innocent. I said, I am? She said, yes. And that's the way it always was. Total loyalty. I've never had anybody more loyal than JD to me. And I can tell her any crazy thing, anything. And I don't know how we got into poetry, spoken word, or performance thing. I don't remember that. I don't even remember that. I just remember her in recovery and how she sort of guided me to meet all these other people and calmed me down because I was such a burnt out human being when I met her. So, I'm going to do her piece. Let's see if I could do it the right way. In defense of black metal. Though I like heavy metal, the music that melts my ears. I'm not a Satanist or a blood worshiper or a mass murderer. Yet I have long black hair and I dress in black leather. And still, I don't like the devil. He's a nasty fork-tailed son of an anvil bitch. And our old friend, long-haired Jesus Christ, a more powerful witch. Then there were many of his age, where we could find many dummies and long beards talking to rocks and trees and making human sacrifice in the name of the Lord. I like heavy metal. It's called the devil's music. When I go to see Metal's church and Slayer suicidal tendencies at Lemoore, I can feel its booming, thrashing bass come up through my feet, and the kids who are much younger than me and do not have bad backs slam in a circle in front of the stage in a manner suspiciously reminiscent of an ancient Indian dance. And these children who have no stag or buffalo to hunt, no new lands to conquer, no houses to build, no inventions to invent, come to the circle and dance and gotta slam and dance away their wasted energies and inherent desires. And on an early Sunday mornings they feel relieved and they do not kill themselves this week. I have never seen the bearded one appear at the Ritz, except painted on the back of one or two denim or leather jackets. I have seen crucifixes with flashing light bulbs, gaudy, and in very poor taste, decorating the stage during a horrible show by a scrub-faced, angel-faced, baby-faced Christian band. I like heavy metal, heavy doom, saying dirges, pulsing rushes, speed, crashes, loud, smashing, pounding, banging, screaming, life-giving, feeling in the late black night, sweaty, excited clubs and dripping stages of passionate frenzy. And if it's the devil's music, well, it ain't his fault that we are human creatures dedicated to dark forces. This crazy, wild music, I can't even say the word, while holding back on God with stupidity, orchestral spiritual hallelujah hymns of field hands and cotton pickers, while the fluid flyer and power chords are sent screeching on their way to the underworld. I don't really believe any of these fairy tales, white or black. I just lose myself in the sounds and the thrilling sensations. To heaven with the devil, to hell with God, whoever created lightning and thunder and rainstorms and hurricanes and earthquakes and monsoons and dust bowls and tornadoes and landslides and famine and full moons will understand if I shout that I like black metal.
Larry Jones couldn't be here tonight, he wasn't feeling well, so I'm really sorry to say he won't be here. But the next reader is JOANNE Pagano.
Hey everybody, I'm so sad and at the same time, happy to participate in this. I really did just idolize Day, I have to say. And I'm a latecomer in this crowd here, I got to know her a little, not the way you guys do. I was a little bit on the periphery there. But I was in such awe of her that when I was with her, it was like I wanted to know what makes you tick. And I used to try to find out, I would just try to talk to her and get under. And she wasn't the person to give up secrets as You can't say it, and that's true. But the interesting thing is that I learned so much from her with very few words. And so many things that you guys have said, Charlene said before, it's like, oh, I know what you mean. Like, she so accepted you as you were. You know, when I was in her house or I was near her, I was a little girl from the suburbs, you know what I mean? That's what I felt, you know, like, you know, I always felt like, you know, so innocent by comparison. And she just accepted you exactly as you were, and you just cut to the chase, cut through all the bullshit, and she just taught me so much about being with people and how to understand people, you know, and be accepting. And she was such a positive person too, and that was really interesting because, you know, she has this, you know, the poetry and the music was so hardcore, and yet I could see through that this amazing, you know, soul spoke to me. It really came through to me, you know. So I really, you know, I was very much in awe of her. So I don't know how else to say it. And I remember all the things she said, which were, you know, not many, but she helped me be a better teacher. I'm a teacher, and I thank her all the time when I'm teaching my students. I can say that. So anyway, this is called Train Ride, and I just learned before meeting Bonnie for the first time that this poem is actually a poem that J.D. wrote after paying Bonnie a visit. So it's it gained an extra meaning for me after having that this was the Bonnie. And Bonnie talked to me a little bit about the visit that they had that time that J.D. describes. So this is called Train Ride. Train 284 back to New York City, Clinton Street, USA. I am early enough to get a spacious seat on the aisle, a few rows behind the sputtering baby, but not close to the twin angelic little girls with red bows above their bright eyes and dread-like braids. I knew there would soon be trouble. I hope the baby will be lulled by the movement of the train, as I hope I will after my vacation, where I have been somewhat sickly. Quiet falls over the car as all systems are turned off. Soft snoring of those who have not been awakened by the commotion of stopping in Rensselaer on their trips from Toronto and points in between. The air and lights are back, and after 1 minute the noise level rises. People feel comfortable with their coughs, giggles, and briefcase snapping, where there is some kind of background hum to mask the rudeness of their human sounds. I am going home, sadly leaving this soft mountain paradise, fashioned by my oldest friend. We are leaving the station, and behind me are a million fragmented memories of the vision seen while working here, pulling weeds in the garden. 5 drops of rain alert me to the impending flight of a turkey vulture, low above my head as if in some primal communication. It has just abandoned the mutilated body of a carrion woodchuck down the road. This morning we saw the corpse had been moved by the fury of those who would devour it. To the left side of the road, although the previous evening Bonnie had eased the fresh carcass to the right shoulder by one claw, gingerly, in case of rabies, so it would not be run over again. A heavy body, spiritless, taken in its prime, unnaturally demolished by a metal machine. Death was all around us. The small yellow bird who tried to fly through glass at high speed, the broken egg tossed by swallows from their nest, the woodchuck, and the phantoms who joined us in the evening to listen to our worldly woes, offer solace and promise visitation. Steve's elemental self providing humor to Roger's serious explanations. I suspected Roger of giving a fake name when whispering a response to our inquiry into the depth of my brain. Both of them were probably aspects of our previous escort, Verdugo, now wearing a segmented costume. I was watching these things inside my eyes and saw the greenish-blue aura wash into a bright, dark cobalt, extending from the center of the candlelight to enfold the assembled humans, their protectors and companions, following into the pits of ourselves. A rushing ribbon of electric white, a healing force wearing a trickster's hat, composed of a laughing cartoon alligator with a large hypnotic eye that was sucked into our cores, and the blue gone, and all gone, but the 6 white candles and their flames in the center of the table. They rose diagonally into Art Deco candelabra designs suspended in midair. We emerged, my friend and I, from our trances and encounters with time and eternity, regretfully. I went to sleep late that night with visions of fireflies and fairies appearing as the lights of fireflies and wild eyes masked by the lights of fireflies. Now I am on the train home, leaving one part of home and returning to another, sailing over tracks bordered by a choppy river. Tonight there will be fireflies on the river, and I will see their trailed impressions on the gray brick wall outside my bedroom window, surrounded still by death and by life, both more raucous in the city, but without the distant cry of crows.
Hi, I'm Susan Sherman. I don't remember when I met JD, but after seeing that Facebook photo, I don't know if any of you saw it of the Downtown Poets, God bless Facebook not. I know it had to be before 1993, because there was JD, Dorothy Friedman, myself, Diane Spideric, Jennifer Blowdryer. That was hysterical, huh?
The year was 84.
84, because it said 93 on it. Well, whatever. It was a while ago. When I think of JD, she was very supportive of me. I published some little, I don't know what you call them, vignettes in Curare. At a time when I really wasn't getting published at all. She published a chapbook of mine, Casualties of War. In order to get to JD, you had to go through the 2 parrots. I always remember those parrots, because I would walk in her house like this. I never trusted them, because they would go when you were least expecting it. And the other thing about JD that I remember that I think people don't talk about much is that her house was a wonder. She loved toys. She had this one toy, I don't remember what it was now, but I was fixated on it. But anyway, her support meant a lot to me. And I'm very happy to read this gorgeous poem that Bruce picked out called Sunflowers. It's a love poem, really. And there's a little exercise I sometimes give my students where they write a self-portrait in words. And JD was a wonderful artist, but she was also an artist in words. And if I were to subtitle this, I would subtitle it Love Poem, Self-Portrait in Words. It's called Sunflowers. Sunflowers by Blake and Van Gogh, rhymes by Dylan and Reed, score by Suicidal Tendencies, song by Motorhead, enter here into my mind. Full of windows to look through longingly, full of full moons and clouds drifting darkly over them, and a bed of nails for me, of feathers for you, white feathers, full of shadows lurking, full of cauldrons boiling, full of runes throwing and long lifelines, full of black humor and sarcasm, knowing nothing, sung by Eric Burden, harpies hurling harmony in the corner, full of gargoyles grinning, full of skulls bleaching, full of wolves howling choruses, enter here into my mind, full of empty charm chairs, full of warriors bathing in cold streams, full of water for drowning, brain by Da Vinci, closed by vicious, death by dying, enter here. Follow the yellow brick road, full of scarecrows, full of bodies of rebel soldiers, full of haunted houses. You're here now, please stay. I'll read your tea leaves. I'll practice healing with the power of my hands. I'll let you rest your weary head. I'll feel eternity in your bones. I'll kiss you to sleep. In my warped mind, wailing saxes play on for you. If only you wouldn't leave. Haystacks by Monet, guitar solos by Hendrix, crucifixions by Jesus. Arm in arm will stroll my mind and leave the desperado world behind. You hold the candelabra, I will lead the way.
Chris?
Yes. Well, it seems yet again ICONICIDE are the mop-up band. Well, I figured for the occasion I should wear something that belonged to JD. And Janet kept insisting that I take some jewelry from JD's place, but I'm not a jewelry type person. This spoke to me somehow. She had some sort of Ed Hardy kind of thing, but this just leaped out of me from the drawer. It was tucked under or something else. And I was told we had a 3-minute warning. And one thing that we're missing tonight is grace period, with a stop sign and a bullhorn at Cafe Nico, and she blew it on a few people, like this older Italian, not Tommaso, this like yay high and yay wide Italian guy, and he kept going even though she blew the blowhorn. But I timed this out to exactly 3 minutes. I first met J.D. Rage in 1987 or 88. I had been banned from my school newspaper and had started publishing 3 of my own zines and an underground comic book. I quickly got swept up in the circle of a poet, publisher, and independent promoter by the name of Bob Z. Became a staff writer for his zine, Bad News, spelled with a Z. And JD was part of that same circle, along with David Huberman, Eek, and Victor Poisentate, all of whom I still call friend. I saw her perform wherever possible, bought her books whenever I could scrape up the cash. And in 1990, I recorded her performing her piece Rude right here at Bullet for a compilation tape I was putting out called Destroy and Be Free. JD kept the booklet for that compilation ever since, its pages laminated in clear tape so they would never wear out. I told her a couple of times over the years I wanted to cover Rude. However, that is yet to happen. In 1995, I tried booking her with my band ICONICIDE at AKA, but was told she wouldn't be good for the bar because all her people were in recovery. She published my piece, Just a Child, in Carrare, and I was lucky enough to read Rude with JD at the 2017 alternate New Year's Day Poetry Marathon at Bowery Poetry Club, which was the last time she was to perform. When JD died, I was one of the select few who were invited to her place to lay claim to whatever I could carry that was not spoken for, and found the following piece on a post-it stuck as a bookmark into a handbook on witchcraft. And I'm going to do my best, JD. November 11th, 2007, 12:07 p.m., 66 degrees. Serial killers usually kill over sex. Female serial killers are rare. Most of them kill their children or husbands for money or revenge. It's hard to take out sexual insecurities on men. You'd have to keep them subdued or they'd overpower you. But subdued, they're not much good for anything. It's just not practical. But that's what I am, a female serial killer. I'm killing men I don't know for revenge over being raped as a teenager. But I don't screw them or mutilate or torture them. Being dead seems to be enough for me. Just being dead. JD.
Yeah.
By the way, Peter, if you want, you can have the post-it back. I just wanted to transcribe the poem.
Yeah, I want to say maybe not all of you know that she wrote any number of novels as well, and one of them was about a female serial killer.
I like that.
Ah, you've touched Peter. So, is there anybody who'd like to get up and say a few words? Dorothy, come on. I have to watch the door, so. So anybody else who wants to get up, just follow Dorothy.
You can easily follow me. I'm not very happy to have people follow me, and I don't have the kind of amazing delivery that JD had, obviously, or David Huberman as well, and many other people here. But I would like to say that I knew and I was friendly with JD from the 80s on. I knew her mostly as a poet. I read with her and published her in Downtown magazine, which actually awarded her a prize in the 90s for our Year of the Poet contest that we were running in the Downtown paper. Let's see. Gary Azon invited her to read at the Anchorage in Brooklyn as part of a reading and art show for Creative Time, which was called Fighting Words. Other readers included Karen Finley. She was also a member of the Women's Salon that Susan Sherman and I organized in the 90s, and read at the reading that Susan referred to at the 10th Street Gallery with Jennifer Blowdryer, Dangers, Diane Spoderick, Susan Sherman, and myself, which was Gary Azon's gallery, actually. He had a gallery called 10th Street Gallery. Let's see, what can I say? She had obviously such a powerful, amazing voice, strong, profane, and original, and she made fireworks. I call them fireworks with her voice. She will always be remembered. Thank you.
Well, I'm Luther Williams. I'm going to try to tell you about another side of Janet's life. Probably the side that she wasn't that fascinated with, which is work. I first met Janet in 1974. Now, I don't know if a lot of you realize that Janet worked for an insurance company owned by the state, and she was actually at a very high level. She was not a low-level worker. She was really up there high and great, and she was very well respected at her job. But somehow, this life sort of crept into the job, because she sort of dressed Gothic before there was such a thing as Gothic. She had to go to hearings in front of an administrative law judge, court reporter, attorney sat at the other side of the table, and she would argue cases. And she would show up dressed like Janet. Most of the judges, since she was very smart, they didn't care. But one judge was very upset. He told her, this is very inappropriate dress for our hearing. This is very important business. You really should show up for a hearing dressed like this. She goes, okay. So about 2 weeks later, she appears before this same administrative law judge. She walks in, no one says a thing. She sits down. She's wearing a tuxedo.
Gotta get this because this picture right here is the picture I used for that compilation tape, Destroy and Be Free, of David Huberman.
Yes, that's it.
And there's JD, are you ready? And the voice of Bob Z. JD, are you ready?
I talked to her about it. They tell you what happened. That whole situation is fun. It's not their job. You know, and it's so acceptable. So acceptable. I stopped writing after a while. I haven't been, yeah, I stopped writing. I write in my journal. Well, oh my God.
Post-it? Huh? That's the post-it that the piece was actually written on.
Right. Do you want to keep it?
Do you want to keep it?
Not necessarily, no. Although I wouldn't mind having a copy of it.
Like
the archives.
Yeah, when I get two brain cells to rub together, what I'll do is I'll scan it and I'll email it to you.
So, because then I want to try to have a total archive of everything that she wrote, which is not maybe realistic, but if I have a copy, then you keep the original, yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll do.
That's it, that picture makes me happy.
She was a full perfect. She was offered 3 full-time jobs and she graduated.
All my friends graduated.
Yeah, okay, well, we're outside.
When I went to Chicago, I thought it was going for Thanksgiving. That was their first and I feel like I'm not sure getting another studio. I can't take it. So it's over. behind it, there were, you know, Joanne and stuff. And stuff. So, you know, this is big. Well, you know, I think when they have the whole
It's rough to be,
That's like especially I have a whole lot.
even my mom says, you have a whole
much wear.
So my mom sits on the separate, and I
5 thousandths of an inch wear. Times 100 rivets. That's happening.